Hi everyone, my name is Costa Kalogiros and welcome to A Bunch of Blank Paper. I know it's been a long time since I made a podcast, but this one is gonna be a very, very special one. And I don't know if it's gonna be one. It's probably gonna be two, maybe three, depending. I will go with the flow and see where this takes me. As this is a very complicated experience, I would say it's not a movie; it's an experience. In order to make it in a very short episode of a podcast, in order to analyze it and talk about it, because the philosophical questions and the technical aspects are so huge. Yeah, first of all, I was away because of lots of work. I'm preparing new stuff. A new feature film is coming up. Some short films. We're doing a lot of commercials now in the company. So yeah, if you want to check out my new projects, you go to my website, www.costakalogiros.com. I even forgot how to speak on the microphone, so it's crazy. Uh, anyway, you can check out some new stuff there, and other stuff are coming as well. And you can check also my new workshops, which are very very nice. I think you will love them. Check out in the workshop segment. You can see my new workshops starting this month. So it's gonna be online, interactive. It's gonna be very, very, very intensive. So yeah, make sure you check these things out. So I'm done with this thing. So yeah, let's talk about today's theme. So today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite films ever, all time. A film that is every time you see it changes. Every time you see it is different. Every time you see it is a totally different experience. The more you grow up, the more you understand the topics, the themes, the questions, everything that this film has to give. Charlie Kaufman is a genius. Of course, I'm talking about Synecdoche, New York. It's a Greek word, actually, Synecdoche. So if you want to learn it, it's going to be really hard to spell it. Synecdoche, New York. Um, and That was actually the very fascinating thing about this film, is that this is his directorial debut, which is crazy. And of course, he made Internal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, being John Malkovich. Of course, the movies Sally Kaufman made. And now we're waiting, eagerly waiting for this Friday to see his new stuff coming out on Netflix, which is called I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Every movie that Sally Kaufman did has a connection. They're all connected in a way. So Charlie Kaufman is doing a very important thing that a writer must do. He works as a writer and director, of course. Sometimes he has adaptations and he's working on that. But when he's writing, for example, his own material, everything is connected, and he's doing the one most important thing that a writer must do, and an artist must do. He's 100% truthful. He lays out on the table, on the script, everything that he's thinking, no filter, nothing. All his fears, all his questions, all his eager, anticipation of something in life, everything he has, he just puts it out on the table. Uh, Ironically, the leading actor is one of my favorite actors as well, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he ended up tragically dead. I think it was back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. It's the same year that we lost Robin Williams as well, and it's really sad because if you see the film and if you see closer, if you really notice, you will see that Philip Seymour Hoffman is actually playing totally a very characteristic part of his soul and his psyche, because you can see that he is experiencing the whole script, the whole movie, like he's experiencing it in real life. Of course, the purpose of an actor is to act and pretend that he's someone else. I mean, this is the best thing that I've seen actors many times talking about, oh yeah, this part will be great for me because it's like me. Yeah, but I don't think that the actors like that. Actors act because they want to escape from the everyday life and they want to pretend that they're someone else. So yeah, it's a big question about all these things, and Charlie Kaufman made it sure that he has all the answers there that are also questions. So yeah, without further ado, I think the intro was really big. Let's dive in the many themes and topics that this movie has. But first of all, in order to start and talking about this film, we have to understand what Synecdoche means. As I told you, it's a Greek word, and it means that it's a simultaneous understanding. Okay, it is a figure of speech in which a part of something of this word or a term refers to the whole of something, or vice versa. So, uh, so it's either mentioning that you're a part of the whole thing, which is actually explains the whole theme of the film. For example, you have some common words that are used to describe something specific. So if you say, for example, um, suits for businessmen, boots for soldiers, America for the United States of America, and so on. So, Synecdoche, New York is a film that actually shows to everybody how a writer can write something out of a theme, and also implementing very strong characters and implementing all his fears and injecting everything in there. So the themes of this film are very strongly visible. So you can see a very strong theme that he uses is death, for example. You have all the complications of death. You have everything that we think about death. Death is everywhere. We know we're going to die and all these things. You know these things, you know? So he takes this theme of death and he puts it there out there with a lot of questions around it, you know? Because he's a genius in doing that. Because he takes from the first scene and on, you see a human relationship going on, and it's very visible. You know, it's very strong and vibrant. You can see two completely opposite people having a daughter. This is what you see in the first scene. You see Adele, and Kaden, and Olive, the daughter. What you can see, what you can see there immediately, the relationship that these people have between them. Okay, there's a kid, of course, there, and you always listen this thing that everybody says. You know, like a kid will be fine, and it will bring the balance in the relationship and all these things. Which for me is crap. You're not just having a baby because you want to save your marriage. It's shit. It's totally unfair also to the kid. So we have a universal desire to be loved. So when we pursue these desires, we end up creating fake and dishonest version of ourselves. That means that we just want to show that we are somebody else, or we just want to show some versions of ourselves just to sell them to other people. We have a tendency to show only these parts from ourselves that we think we have as soon as you meet someone and you see their interest and everything, you start getting to know each other in the first stage of the chasing, when you see the other person and you're getting, more into them. So we only show the parts from ourselves that we think that the other people will like. And this is a very, how can I say it to be more polite with ourselves? Anyway, it's an attempt. Let's say it's an attempt to win the people, win their affection, even when you have nothing to do with the other person. If you are totally incompatible as a whole. Let's use the word whole because it's also a universal meaning of the movie's theme, because he's talking about the me and the whole. So let's see it like that. So as two entities, you're completely different. You don't fit. But even then, we just show some compatible things, very small, to be honest. This is You hear so many times an expression that says, a friend of yours comes and said, "Oh my God, I had no fucking idea that he's like that," or I didn't see that coming. No, 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 I didn't see that coming. Of course you did. You saw that coming. You know that this will happen. There's no person on this planet, that's an open book and that can be read by anyone and blah, 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 blah. No, there's nothing like that. Of course, you know that this is the root of things. This is how things are going to be, laid down from now on. So when you meet a person, you always know that there are going to be surprises on the way. And most probably in the beginning, when you meet them, you just meet some parts that you like, except the abs and the perfect ass and the boobs and the eyes. And I don't know what the fuck people see to each other. And they just want to, throw themselves into that. If it's going just for sex, things are not complicated. But if they're going towards a relationship, things are getting fucked up complicated. So, because we do these things that it's not us and we're not acting as ourselves, we're acting as somebody that has to modify themselves in order to be likable to the other person, because in the end we hate to be lonely. Not all of us, but most of the times you hate it when you're lonely, and especially in the end of your life, towards the end of your life, you definitely don't want to be lonely. So we have a desire to be loved, and that's what we're doing. So we're throwing out the weapons, the small things that the other person will see and say, yeah, this person is compatible with me. And then, of course, hell breaks loose. So this leads people actually to convince themselves that they are with the wrong person. And when that person initially shows only what the other person would like, it's very easy to make that mistake. And this is the time that you say, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing with this person? Oh, you're an unknown person to me. You've heard that already. You're a stranger. You heard these things all the time. Yeah, it's always a stranger, but you haven't seen it in the beginning. So, in a nutshell, like Adele and Kaden in the film, people are more compatible with each other the less that they know about each other. And it's a sad thing, especially when a kid comes. This is a very sad thing because you realize it afterwards. And then you just say, oh my God, what am I doing with this person? I never, ever loved him. And this is also what Adele thinks about Kaden. I never loved that guy. Why did I have even a child with him, So this movie wants to, talk on behalf of everybody. When I mean everybody, everybody. Men, women, transgender, LGBTQ, whatever, everybody. Because the identity that we have in our lives is decided by our brain and nobody else. I'm going to talk about this also because it's a theme in the film, and we're going to talk about this more analytically in a bit. So, yeah, he does this thing, which is really, really interesting for me. I found it fascinating. When I started writing, it was like, my God, how did he do that? He manages to create an egocentric person, character. We write characters, not persons. I mean, the translation between my thinking in Greek and going to English is sometimes a bit strange, but please bear with me because I have some really nice things to say about this stuff. So it looks like an egocentric movie. It sets everything is around Kaden. Everything happens around Kaden and how Kaden is going to feel about that and how Kaden is going to do this and how Kaden is going to do that. So the thing is that this movie is one of the most universal movies I've ever seen in my life. It's about the whole. It's not about the egocentric part of the reflection of ourselves. It's not about the truth that we think that we know and that this is the only truth that I know. There's no other truth in the universe. No, it's not about that. It looks that it is about that, but it's not. And he does it geniusly. He does this thing. He questions existence. He questions the human experience, and he uses art to imitate life, because this is what art does. It imitates life. So, I said so many times again that, the actors, they are pretending always to be someone else. And this is why they act. There's no actor ever said, "Oh my God, I love this part. It's totally me." No, nobody says that. You know why? Because they have to escape from themselves. This is why they're doing it. This is why they're acting. And this is why you're going to the cinema, because you want to escape from your everyday life. This is what you're doing. So the actors are pretending always to be someone else, and this is why they act. They want to escape from themselves. And this is what Charlie Kaufman geniusly did on this film when he started actually from the middle of the film and a little bit after the middle of the film, when he starts putting actors, playing actors who play actors. It's amazing how he does that. And it's fascinating to see the way he did it. So, when we enter the film, we have immediately the theme of time, because it's, time is immediately and directly connected to life, right? So, what do we see first? We see a clock, a radio clock, right? So we see the time. I don't remember what time it was. It was 7:44, I think. So we see the time. The thing is that if you pay closely attention to the credits when they're coming in, and I think I've read it in a review a long, long time ago that somebody mentions that. If you pay attention and you see the credits in the beginning are coming after a gray card. So it fades in, goes to gray, and then goes to the clock. This also happens in the end of the movie when the credits are rolling. So the film finishes, it's gray and credits. So gray, it's not 50 Shades of Gray, but even 50 Shades of Gray can be translated in that. Gray on this film is something really bad. It's not even black, it's gray. It's not white, it's not black, it's something in the middle, but it's so bad and so tormenting, gray. And he uses it in the film very cleverly. So whenever he uses gray, he wants to point out something. And you can understand that very, very easily if you follow closely to the dialogue of the film. You can hear Hazel saying sometime in the film, the beginning is at the end is at the beginning, something like that. I can find the exact quote, but she actually said that in order to point you. Yeah. The end is built into the beginning. This is what she said sometime in the film when she's a little bit older. She said the end is built into the beginning. So if you take it literally and you look at the end, then the end is literally built into the beginning, because you see two same things going on. There is a fading gray card and then going in the film, and in the end you see the gray card and the credits going out. So he fades in and you see the clock. When you see the clock, immediately you think about time. Think about another film that you saw with a clock. Groundhog Day. The whole theme is about time. He's stuck in time. So whenever you see the timer, it's like, no, fuck. It's the same fuckers in the radio, and I'm stuck in this fucking Punxsutawney Phil village. So he cannot escape from that. So same thing happens here. Okay, with not the comedic part of it, but it's not it's a comedy, one of the best ever, Groundhog Day, but it's so dramatic at the same time. So, you see the clock. Time is 7:44. Credits roll in. The credits roll in. And you see the title of the film coming in. So when you see the title of the film coming in, when you see Synecdoche, New York, what happens there? When the credit leaves the screen, immediately the time changes to 7:45. Immediately. So you see the clock title goes out same time. It's like the title was pushed from the time that had to pass, and push the whole credit over. And it's more evident if you pay attention also how the credit comes in. But this is more technical. I mean, if you're doing editing or if you're doing some stuff, you definitely saw it, that the title actually fades in slowly. Okay, it fades in slowly and cuts, just like life. You fade in slowly from the womb, and suddenly cuts, and you die. So this is what he wanted to show with the clock. Okay, it's the birth, it's the womb, how you come out, and the death. So existence, the whole existence. How does it come? How do you come on this life? How do you exist in this life? And how you die in this life? Okay, you can hear also there. You struggled into existence and you're sadly slipping out of it, which is the full meaning of the whole movie. Of course, when you're young and you're watching this movie, you cannot see these things immediately, of course. And I saw it so many times. So, I'm not a magical person that can analyze films, but the more you look at it, the more you realize that everything is set from the first scene. So in the first scene, you see everything that you want to see, and the theme is set. Time. Okay? Now, we have also a very strong theme in the film, which is about the human communication, which cannot be achieved. And it's evident, especially in the doctor's room, when he always goes to the doctor for something. He has some problems, okay, but he's also hypochondriac. He's always thinking about the worst thing. And that's a complete opposite thing from Adele. Let's go to that. In the beginning, you see Adele in the first scene. Okay, the clock comes in, he wakes up, you hear these things, and then you see Adele coughing like really bad in her elbow. Putting her head in her mouth in the elbows and in the elbow, and coughs very, 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 very strongly. She doesn't give a shit about this. Okay, then you see Olive, his daughter. By the way, the name olive is a tree. Olive is an olive tree we have in Greece also, and a lovely, beautiful olive oil and stuff. And it's not, of course, nothing is by luck here, by chance. Her name, we meet in the movie two names of trees. We see olive and hazel. And in the process of the film, I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm guessing that everybody that hears this podcast have seen the film. In the process of the film, if you keep something out of the relationships he had with women, then you might say that, the most strong women in his life were Olive and Hazel. So it's not, also on top of that, they're wearing always flowers, a pattern of flower on them. So, yeah, it's not by chance. Most of the women in the film were actually all of the women except Maria and Adele. They're not ever wearing something with a flower pattern, and all of the times, all of their clothes are really spooky and dark. So we will talk also about this later on when we analyze how he did that with art direction. So, but let's stick to the first scene. So we have Olive in the toilet and said, "My poop is green." So Adele looks like she's not worried at all, not even about the cough or the poop that is green. I said, okay, there might be something that you ate. Then we enter the kitchen and we see Caden. We see Philip Seymour Hoffman. Caden starting talking about how bad he is today. I didn't wake up well. This is what he says. And Adele is on the phone talking with Maria, I think, and she's having a good time and she doesn't give a fuck about the thing that her husband just said. So we see here two completely opposite behaviors in terms of how they deal with the problems in life. And this is actually what happens in real life when you have somebody say, "Come on, you don't feel anything? What the fuck, man? This is what you say to somebody that it's completely like blank and doesn't see and doesn't want to see or doesn't want to feel anything. They just accept the fact that something is bad. And Caden is the person that takes a small thing and does it a huge matter. He's like a drama queen. He does like a huge fucking deal out of it. And Adele tries to play things down. And you see that also. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but I don't think so. I don't think there's a coincidence with these huge writers. Uh, Something that you can see if you were talking about how they deal with her problems, something that you can see very, very evident and very out there is that his play is huge. Starts from something, never finishes actually. It's a huge thing. The more he goes on with his life and the more he's becoming old, the more huge the play is. So it's becoming bigger and bigger. While on the other hand, Adele, the person that actually plays down the whole things, tones down every problem, her paintings are smaller and smaller. So this cannot be a coincidence because it's the way people face problems. Come on, there's no middle way about that. Some people get completely crazy about just getting some bloods in their head and hand, and some people just don't give a fuck and they just say, okay, whatever happens, it happens. So that's Adele, and it's also dramatic because Adele, the symptoms of the cancer are there in the first scene and she doesn't pay attention or she doesn't want to pay attention or she's just like, okay, I'm gonna die anyways, so fuck it. So you never see her talking like that, but you see that the evidence are there, and in the end she dies. But the question is, who lived better their lives, better on their standards, Kaden, who was worried all the time about everything and living with stress and living with that, or Adele, that was more laid back and waiting for things to come, and she was playing down every problem that was there, So it's a kind of question: how do you want to live your life? Now, I always say that when you're talking about your country all the time, you get stuck. You get stuck. You get stuck in the same place, and you don't want to get and you don't want to become, an adult. Whenever you're thinking about these things, religion, the country, country. Yeah, I'm proud. I'm American. I'm Greek. All these things keep you back. They don't let you grow. So let's talk a little bit about the city. So the city is called Synecdoche. All right, that's a city in New York. What is more evident again about the whole film to actually know what's gonna happen is the song that you hear from Olive in the very first opening of the scene. You hear the song. So she says there's a place I long to be, a certain town that's dear to me, home of Mohawks and GE. It's called Synecdoche. So she's actually singing about her beautiful and lovely town, like in South Park. Um, so, and then the song goes like that. I was born there and I'll die there. My first home I hope to buy there. Have a kid or at least try there. Sweet Synecdoche. So in this second verse, we see that born there, I'll die there. My first home I hope to buy there. Have a kid or at least try there. So Olive, his daughter, is singing this. So you understand the connection between that. It's like a heritage goes on. Like I'm born here. I hope to buy a home here. I hope to have my kid here. And yeah, sweet Synecdoche, my beautiful, beautiful city. Then it continues. And when I'm buried and I'm dead, upstate worms will eat my head. It becomes very creepy here. It's like, oh wow, what's happening? It's collapsing. For every person that you know once they'll say goodbye and go. Think we'll see them soon? Well, no. We won't see them again. Also, this verse gives a huge meaning to the film. Huge meaning. And it's also very dark. Very dark. Like, if depending how you want to take the theme of the film, Either you take it and you are depressed for the rest of your life. Either you take it and you say, okay, let's move now because we're very we're in a stasis. Oh, actually, you hear the word stasis and anti-stasis. There is this thing in the film, and it's also in this verse. Okay, so and then, but there is always a last time that you see everyone. There is always and never again. So this is a completely dark shit message from the song to hear from a small child in the beginning of a film. But he achieves exactly what he wanted to achieve. Give you again the feeling of what this theme is about, what this film is about, okay? So he's also, Charlie Kaufman also believes that everything we do leads to where we are going, leads to where we wind up, how we are fucked up with our lives or good with our lives. It's always affected by everything we do. And you would say, okay, if I go out and a piano falls on my head, yeah, you can explain that if you didn't live in that place with your girlfriend, or if you haven't said no to morning sex with this girl, you wouldn't be dying out of a piano falling on you. But anyway, you get the point. He's pretty much saying that every decision we make is affecting totally our life and where we end up with our life. Now, let's talk a little bit about the marriage of Kaden and Adele. So they're artists, okay? Adele is an amazing painter, and Kaden is a theater director. And he actually, up to the point that we meet them, he didn't even, how can I say, he didn't have an original play of his own. So he starts writing this thing afterwards in the film, where he's actually writing the movie in a real time. We actually seen some since the production of the film going on, which is amazing. So, she also says to him when they exit the play, when he managed to get a play going, she really disses him. Talk about, yeah, okay, what is that? You took an original film from somebody else, somebody else's original film, and you just made it your own, so you're not creating. What the fuck are you gonna leave behind? This is the thing that you would hear me saying a lot if you're my friend. I'm saying always, okay, I want to make films, I want to make stuff, so I will leave something behind for the rest of the people to see. That's something that we, artists want to do. So the relationship between them is really bad, and you can see it from the beginning. So she knows already that it's over. She knows that. They don't look at each other anymore. Kaden is so preoccupied with something that happens to him, So they're completely different people in the verge of just breaking up. Okay? Now, most of the times in our lives when we have experiencing the same thing every day, for example, you take you have a routine, you just go to your work from this street and you just go out, and then you enter your car, and then you do some specific robotic things. This is when your mind actually is trained and used to this thing that you're doing, and sometimes you're not paying attention. This happens also to some experienced pilots, for example. If you're so experienced and so many years in the line of work, and then you're just not doing one small thing that is like so typical, and then the plane goes down, It's like the Berlin weather. When I was living in Berlin, I had the same shit every day, snow up to I don't know what, and minus something for so many months. And many times you don't pay attention to things that are going on around you. So the more you have a routine in your life, the more you follow a specific path all the time, the more you're going to have a tendency of not paying attention, to the signs that are coming. Now, so Kaden makes a huge deal out of things. Adele is not. Uh, Adele is sick. She doesn't pay attention to that in the beginning. Hazel has, he said, I'm not feeling very well. And then he starts going to the doctors, visiting doctors and stuff like that. Also in the doctor's room, when he's going, we see the thing with the communication that I said, which is really important. They're not able to communicate. Also, he says you have to see an ophthalmologist, and he said a neurologist. They don't communicate, and this is what Charlie Kaufman says. We are unable to connect. We are unable to communicate in this life. So this is what he says there very evidently. And in the second Doctor also, when he goes there, we see that very, very, it's evident there. It's there. They cannot communicate. They say shit. Also, what's evident is that in the first Doctor he goes, after he hit himself with the water faucet, the first Doctor that he went there to have stitches, there's an old guy behind them suffering a lot. Like a lot. You see him in pain, and people, his relatives on him. And the doctor goes, oh, come on, I cannot stand anymore. Every week he's here, come on. And Philip Seymour Hoffman seems also very ironic about it. Yeah, he says something like that. So this is evident. This is something that Charlie Kaufman wants to say, that we don't give a fuck, actually. We are so self-important. We care about ourselves, and that's about it. And this adds up to the thing that I told you about the love, that we actually, when we're good and when we're in a good place, we don't give a fuck. But when we're in a bad place, then we're gonna, end up with our old boyfriend, or, try to, when you're in the weakest place, when you're in the weakest place, then you try to find someone to fill in the gap and the void. So, but this scene specifically shows that people are merciless. They have no mercy, and they don't give a fuck about anyone. So this was very clear at that scene. Now, I'm going to say one more thing in this episode, because I don't want to, not bore you, but I want to keep it in sessions so you can, try to get the things that I'm saying and watching the film again. Even this first part, it's so important, because you will see it again with a different eye, different vision, and then you will be able also to get your own meaning out of that. Of course, I'm saying that, I'm not saying that what I say is what 100% went down in the film, but I'm pretty sure that this is very close to what Charlie Kaufman wants to show. So I'm going to talk about the concept of time. Time is so important in this film. Even if you don't pay attention, especially after the middle of the film, when you see things are happening so rapidly fast, life passes by like running crazy. You see that he's like suddenly 6 months after, and it's like 2 seconds passed in the real time of the film. So the concept of time is really important. And also, now that I'm saying about this, the time he's passing by, the time he's passing with his family is really fast. It's like it's like a routine going on, and I will tell you exactly what I mean, and you can, if you didn't pay attention, you will see it again. But the time that he's spending with Claire, that was just, nobody understood why he had a kid with Claire and why he married Claire, where it's really simple to think that he did it just to fill the gap of Olive, Adele, Hazel, even Hazel. That time with her passes by so fast. I mean, suddenly you see them having sex. Suddenly you see there's a baby there. Suddenly you see she has a huge tattoo on her back that he never saw because he probably never fucked her again. So this specific period of time passes by so fast, but really fast. This is like we never saw it in the film. So he plays it down. He just tones down that fact. That, you see this? I did it because I had to fill a gap. While on the other hand, all of his life passes by fast, of course, but not that fast. Okay? So, time passes by really, really fucking quick in the film. So we open, I think it was 24th of September. Okay, immediately we hear from the radio. It's the 8th of October. That's in 10 seconds. Then the newspaper he opens. Jesus Christ. He's holding. Says October 14. Then we have him going in the kitchen, opening and getting a milk. He said he smells the milk and says, "Oh my God, the milk is expired." The date on the milk was October 20th. So this happens within less than a minute. So you see that in less than a minute, we have already passed by a month from the 24th of September to October 20th, which the milk has already expired. So it's like the 24th of October, let's say. Then we hear Happy Halloween. We hear on the radio November 1st. The newspaper at the same time is dated November 2nd. So you hear November 1st, and then you see the newspaper he's holding. You hear November 1st, and you see November 2nd. So the time passes by so fast. He's hitting his head with a faucet that comes out. He goes to the doctor's office, and it's Christmas. And then you have on the ophthalmologist where he's going. It's March 2006 written back in the calendar. So it's a routine he's passing by, and passes by so fast. So the element of time is so evident also in the objects that you see, in everything you hear and everything you see. So he's trying to put in there like 30 years of his life in 2 hours, but with things happening, things that you can see there, you know? So the marriage is a routine. So you have 2 months, 2 whole months, 2.5 months pass by, and they're still at the same position where you see them again having breakfast when it's 2 months already passed. And they're doing the same things all over again. It's like you're having a long-term relationship that you're so fucking fed up with, you know? So they're doing the same things. Adele is on the phone talking with Maria and doing that. And he's saying, I think I have arthritis. And, you know, you see, he always have a problem that Adele doesn't give a fuck about it. And their breakfast is always the same. It's the same seats. You know, the same newspaper. They do the same repetitive things every day. So remember what I said before. When you're doing the same repetitive things every day, you don't pay attention anymore. So Charlie Kaufman said in an interview that he's going to treat this like a dreamlike reality. This is exactly what he said. So he wanted to have examples of how time is passing and how we're thinking about time. Okay, so when you were young, you were a kid, time passed by really fast, really slow. You were so slow on things, you know. You had absolutely no need about anything, so the time was passing by slowly and slowly and slowly. The more you grow up, time passes by so fast. Especially the 25 years old to 35 years old, I'm 42 now, you won't ever see it. That's for sure. You have no idea where these 10 years went. No idea. So all this concept of how fast time passes by, it's described in a very horrible way in the film. You can say, in fact, that you can get frightened out of that. But yeah, as I said, depends. When are you seeing it and what's your experience in life at that time and that point? So Charlie Kaufman made a film that he can actually say to anyone, this film is being written and changed every time you see it. So every time you see it, it changes. And it's the truth. That's the fucking amazing thing about this film. So you see the tracking that the television does in our lives. So Charlie Kaufman chose the television to track his life, to show what's going on. You hear sometimes in the TV something that it's repeated also in the end. You hear growing virus of thought, obsession of fear and death. That's the Cotard syndrome. Because recently I was looking for syndromes to see, because I'm very very interested in the human behavior and some syndromes that actually, like the Tourette syndrome, for example. I saw a Spanish movie about the Tourette syndrome. It's called Tok Tok, and it's like a great comedy that he gathers a lot of people with syndromes in a room, and he examines them one by one with a very funny way, of course. So I looked it up. So this growing virus of thought, obsession, of fear of death, it's the Cotard syndrome. It's like you're always saying, I'm dead. It's like you think that you're not alive at the moment now that you're talking. You say, I'm dead. I'm not alive. So in this film, he examines that syndrome, but he's more into the idea that Caden is a living dead. Actually, he's alive and dead at the same time, which is probably something that you felt a lot of times in your life. Me, I felt it for sure when I had a big breakup with a relationship. I was like, am I alive or am I dead at the moment, So he examines this whole thing very closely, and I think he's a fan of this thing. I think he's more into this idea, the idea of that we are living dead, actually. So immediately we see Caden going in the theater to have the rehearsal of his play. Then we have something very important happening. The young actor goes to him to ask for instructions, how he was supposed to play the part. And then what Caden does there, he guides us again and show us what this film is about, what this theme is about, what's the theme of the film. He says, the end of a life full of despair, and the tragedy is that you, as the young actor, will end up at this place of desolation. What happens there is that he said this, but the actor never got it. If you see him, he goes out and he's like, okay. He was not sure what he heard, but he didn't understand. That's the theme of the film again. You don't understand what I said. Ask me again. You're not communicating. And also the fact that he didn't understand what he told him, which is again the theme of the film. A life full of despair and tragedy. So these struggles apply to the actors of the film. These struggles apply to all the actors of the film. And ironically, Philip Seymour Hoffman died of from these struggles. Okay? So, Philip Seymour Hoffman also said in an interview about Synecdoche in New York, he said that life flies by, and the older you get, the faster it's going. This is what I said also before. But this doesn't, it's a common thing. If you're above 40 years old, or 30 years old, 35 years old, you understand that. You see that happening. I don't know how it's going to be when you're becoming older, but it's happening for sure. So, another thing that we have very evident in our lives, come on, it's pretty obvious that Charlie Kaufman wants you to interpret it yourself because you have different experience, I told you, in different ages and it's different for everybody. Somebody, I said again, they can be completely depressed and not thinking about anything else again, just death. But somebody can see it completely like, okay, yeah, that's the truth. We know that. Fuck that. I'm going to just spend some time and have some fun with the things that I'm programmed to do as a human being. So, a thing that you have all the time is like you feel incomplete. You feel that something is not here. Something is missing. I have that all the time. Even if you get the things that you want so much in life, you get the perfect girlfriend, you have the perfect car that you're dreaming, the perfect job, the perfect house. Always there's something missing. It's always not there. Something is missing. Something is not commuting. Something is not good. In my last film, For Poetry Can Fix You, I tried to translate that. One person saw it because, okay, I'm not Charlie Kaufman, so not so many people saw the film. We had screenings. It could be in the cinemas. There's a crowd of a total of, I don't know, 600, 700 people in total when you had all the screenings that we did. Okay, let's say 1,000 just to make it a huge pool of that. One person came to me and he said, "Did you put on the chessboard the pawn of the king down on purpose?" He saw it and I was so fucking thrilled. I'm like, yes, you're the first person that says that. Why? Because something is missing. I wanted to show there to the people that the king, okay, I'm not going to spoil the movie. Just see it. For Poetry Can Fix You on my website. Just see it. I don't want to spoil that. But Charlie Kaufman on this film puts things in random positions. If you pay attention to the art direction in the film, he just, he chooses to do some nice stuff. But you will see. I'm not going to say what it is. But he's doing some nice stuff. Okay, I'm going to say one, for example. There's an artwork by painting made by probably Adele behind in the back on the wall. It's not complete. You see, it's like a scrapwork, or I don't know. It's not that complete. Also, many times he shows the same frame. You see the frame when they have breakfast, where Adele is on the left doing something on the sink, talking or whatever, and then you see behind her on the stove, above the stove, there are 3 frames of small things. I don't know how to say them in English, but they're like these small frames, picture frames. I don't know how to say them, but you see there are 2, and also there's a 3rd one that's missing, and you see that by the paint behind that, the paint that it left. So it was there because you see the shape drawn on the wall. It was there, but it's not there anymore. So he shows you that, and I'm sure you can find more than what I found in terms of what's missing in objects, and you can see them. Very evident there. So the interpretation of the whole thing is on you. You will interpret it the way you want to interpret the film, and you will get the lesson you want from that film. So there is a lot of things that I want to say about this film. So we cannot do it in one episode. That's absolutely impossible. So that was the first episode about Synecdoche, New York. I wanted to just analyze the concept of time and the theme of the film, but the thing gets really spooky and very, very amazing at the same time, and breathtaking and overwhelming in the next episode, when I'm going to analyze exactly, I'm going to go scene by scene in some scenes, and we're going to read also the screenplay to put it, and see why did he wrote it like this, because he explains a lot. We're going to talk about the part of the television, the part that television plays in the film, the cartoon that he sees in the film. We're going to talk about Sammy. Oh my God, Sammy is such an important person. We're going to analyze a lot of characters in there, and we're going to see how he's using the flower patterns, and how he's also using the Carl Jung's theory for anima and animus. That's all from me for today. It's a big episode, I know, but just go through it and watch the film again. And I'm sure that next week, when I'm gonna have the next episode of this huge thing about Synecdoche in New York, I'm sure you will be already seeing the things that I'm, so after 10, 12, I don't know how many times I've seen it. And it would be easier to follow up, okay? Thank you very much for being with me today on this podcast. It's the first podcast I'm going to also post on YouTube, just to have it there as well. It's available on Spotify. I don't know if you're listening on Spotify, and it's also in Apple Podcasts. Make sure you just check my website for workshops and, mentorship or script revisions, whatever you want. Just feel free to add me on Instagram with my name. And be well, bless you, and peace, love, and understanding for all of you. Thank you.